Hi, this is David Liebe Hart. I've had an interest in the UFO phenomenon ever since I was abducted in Park Forest, Illinois at 117 Westwood Drive, Park Forest, Illinois. My parents don't live there anymore. My parents have passed on, and new people own the home that's gone into foreclosure. But when my parents moved to Park Forest, Illinois in 1968, I had an abduction experience the first year my parents moved to Park Forest, Illinois. I got to see what it's like to be abducted by extraterrestrials. Samples of my skin and my hair were taken, a tube was put up in my nose. They put a tracking device in me. Because I was raised in Christian Science, they don't believe in doctors. I never had the tracking devices moved out of my arm or my leg. And the different, this has happened to people all over the world, abductions. The extraterrestrials that abducted me said they were going to bring me back to Earth. They were just sampling me to see what made me tick. And I was gone for 2 weeks. And that was a close encounter of the first kind. And then after that, I experiencing unidentified objects in the sky. When I went to camp in Wild Rose, Wisconsin, I was working on a farm at a 4-H club, and I saw this disc from a distance. This is UFOs of the 5 kinds. It looked like, from a far distance, it looked like a Saturn, and when it got closer, it looked like a large frisbee that was shiny and silver with red and green lights. It zigzagged and made shapes and spins at the speed of lightning that airplanes or our new technology can't do. But I know that at Area 51, they have machines now that can do that. And then when it landed, it made a imprint that nothing could grow. When I came back there during the summer, nothing could grow in that spot where that UFO landed. It made like a footprint, a weird footprint that nothing, even birds or bugs or anything, just ignored that area. And that inspired me. Then I was married to I used to be married to a woman named Bridget Footman, and we saw a UFO together. We used to go up to Palmer Lake up in Mount San Jacinto, and there, after we were driving down from Mount San Jacinto, this is like about 1993, where this weird triangular disc was flying over the car, and I said to Bridget, she had this UFO, we're divorced now, there's a UFO behind us, and it looks like a triangle shape in it, like an orange light in the middle. And it was, it shot a ray of beam of light that melted the back of the station wagon like a grilled cheese would melt cheese, and it really scared me. We were frightened. We stopped the car, and then the disc, like it was trying to get us our attention, looking down at us. And then after we looked at it and pointed at it, it went the opposite direction at the speed of lightning. And then I was working at a Christian Science school, and Wild Rose, Wisconsin. My ex-wife and I used to, when we were married, had a job working at a Christian Science school, and they had us to read the weekly Bible lesson. And I was sitting in front of the living room reading the Christian Science Bible lesson. And over the mountains, there was this weird disc that, like, dancing over the sky. And everybody, all the kids stopped. A UFO, 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 and then the thing. It was, that's an experience I experienced. And then I was fishing with my dad in Michigan. My dad, when he was living, he's passed on. He was a civil rights leader with Dr. Martin Luther King, but he was a longtime school teacher. He used to take me fishing all the time in Michigan. And we were fishing, and I felt this, it was like we were late at night fishing, like 2 and 3 in the morning, and my dad had fallen asleep in the boat, and this thing had shot out a ray over Douglas Lake, where my dad used to fish, to connect it with Lake Michigan. And this weird ray of light came over. It was like pitch dark and just shot all over the boat. And it was like a big flashlight in a dark room looking down at us. And I tried to wake up my dad. There's a UFO, there's a UFO. And he was so stone sleepy, he didn't get up, no matter how much I poked him with the fishing rod. And I never forgot that experience. Colonel Wendell Stevenson was in the UFO phenomenon. He was in the Marines, and he loved talking about UFOs, and the government sent him to during World War II, because there was a lot of UFOs overlooking us because of the action that went on World War II. Also, the Germans were taught, and Hitler worked with a race called the Omegans that had a big underground in Antarctica. And there was another extraterrestrial race, I can't think the name of them, and they hit Hitler in South America and then took him to Antarctica, and they have a big underground base there. I was told that by Colonel Wendell Stevenson. Colonel Wendell Stevenson was a student of Christian Science. I was raised in Christian Science, and he shared a lot of UFO experiences with me, and everybody says, you should meet Colonel Wendell Stevenson. He's into UFOs, and he's a Christian Scientist like you, and he's ex-veteran like you. And him and I became good friends. He lived in Tucson, Arizona. He wrote many books about UFOs. He did UFO investigations. He did the Maya case with Billy Meyer. He went to Switzerland to film that and do the UFO research about that. I felt I'd like to someday do a TV show similar to The Murder, She Wrote, but only do one about Colonel Wendell Stevenson, about the UFO investigators, because it's an interesting experience. But they have debunkers that don't want people to know the truth. Debunkers are, when they get a UFO story, they try to declassify it. They try to make mockeries out of people that really have had UFO experiences, and make people that believe in the UFOs and experience like they're phonies, like it really doesn't exist, but it does. The Korendians are a humanoid race that are from star Korendian, which is 411 light years away from Earth. They look identical to human beings, and their men get no bigger than 4 or 5 feet, whereas their women are the opposite of our human race on Earth. Their women get 6 feet or 8 feet, where the men stay small. They have their toe, many of them that I've met, their toe is in the middle instead of on the side like ours. Star Korendian is the size of a little bit bigger than Jupiter, and it is a planet that has a Earth surface like Earth. It's near Sirius B, and it circles around Sun Carina. Next time we do a show, the Jezebel Quetzalcoatl, who got I heard that got killed in a battle with the Omegans. He used to be my contact and share so much with me, but anyway, there's a map. Him and Jezebel put a map put all about the Korendians on the internet. You could just go on the internet and type in Korendian, and everything you want to know about the Korendians will come up. Their language, what they eat, they're vegetarians, how they live, and their climate, and everything you want to know about them is already on the internet for anybody to do research about. Bob Renown has been the Korendians' contact. He, in 1961, was the first Earth person from planet Earth who was a Caucasian guy who was French near the border of Massachusetts that first encountered He had made his own television and microscope, and and their frequency got mixed up with his frequency, and then he was working with a Korendian and a factory that became his best friend and taught him about the Korendians, and then people were trying to debunk him and make fun of him, so he didn't want to share what he knew and what he experienced with the Korendians until he met Colonel Wendell Stevenson. And Colonel Wendell Stevenson and him wrote a lot of books about the Korendians that is on the internet. Well, my grandmother, Gordon Wright Schroeder, told me that on my Caucasian side, on my Scotch-Irish, English-German side, I'm related to Orville and Wilbur Wright, and they were Presbyterian ministers from South. They were originally from Ohio that moved to South Carolina, and the military term is they got their back engineering from working with the Korendians, and they also taught Tesla and Einstein. At the same time they taught Orville and Wilbur Wright, they taught a guy in France how to make the airplane and how to make a big something levitate in the sky. I don't know a lot, but if you Google Korendian on the internet, Jezebel and Quetzalcoatl and Elder Master Latan and Bob Renown, who works for the Korendians, because after I wrote the song Salome, the words and music to it for the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, great job. So many people have had such a deep interest, so many fans about the Korendians, till everything about the Korendians is all on the internet. You just have to Google in Korendian and anything. And they have all the Omegans, the Korendians, and the Palladians also have dark-skinned extraterrestrials. They have all the shades of browns, whites, and different shades of hair that we have on Earth, and they all speak different languages as well. Like the Korendians that come from Amagril, Ordius, say a Makakorbigat Abea event, which means go into the light until we meet again, whereas the Korendians that come from Tamarama say, I've just pronounced it for you, Valuceeol. Their language is, let's see, and I can't get the rest of it, but you can see it on that there. Go into the light until we beat. The other Korendians have a different language than the ones that they have at Amagril, just like the people in the United States speak differently than the people speak in Russia. There's different races of Korendians. The Korendians have mixed in with the Palladians and the Timers and the Melodians. So, and because they do a lot of working in outer space together, they're scientists and they're women and they're men, they've interbreeded with each other too. There's a Korendian who knows my name, and she looks just like Betty Page. I met her at the tar pits while I was selling my portraits. She told me that she was in love with me. On Star Corridor, they do things differently. They communicate telepathically, and the Korendians are all vegetarians. They don't eat salt or sugar or meat. I'm waiting for the craft to come and take me away to the 7 Moon Festival beyond the Milky Way. Oh, now, oh yeah, oh now, oh yeah, oh now, oh yeah. This Korendian girl is named Jezebel. I'm so happy she's in my life. She comes to me telepathically. She's an elder master and can't be my wife. Korendor, Korendor, all the more. She comes from Star Korendor, Korendor, all the more, all the more. Okay, the Omegans are the opposite of the Korendians. They believe in the force of darkness. They're everything that the Irish are their descendant, and so the Scottish. They like to party. They believe in the force of darkness, like the Korendians believe in the force of light. Their religions is similar to what the reptilians believe in. The lizard people that are like dinosaur people that stand on 2 feet. They believe in the force of darkness. They believe in evil as being energy and power, and darkness being energy and power. And they believe in partying and what you would say fornication. They like a lot of sex and a lot of beer and a lot of liquid, and they're like Vikings. They like to fight, and they're very they like to have a good time. The Palladians and the reptilians told me about the. I feel there's a lot of good Omegans, but a lot of aliens don't like them. But I feel there's good and bad in every race and every walk of life, and I feel they shouldn't stereotype the Omegans as being bad, because I found out the Omegans have done a lot of good. When the American Indians all their buffaloes were killed and they were chased in the wilderness, the Omegans did feed them and teach them how to build homes inside adobe homes with clay, and fed them and brought them food and brought them swords. They also taught the Mayas, and when it was a terrible earthquake in Central America, the Omegans spent a lot of time to teach the Mayas cultivation. They brought corn. The Omegans are different than the Korendians. The Omegans are carnivorous. They eat meat. They brought pork. They bought pigs. They bought a lot of meat stuff and dairy. They brought cows to planet Earth. And there was a lady that told me she was in contact with an Omegan, and her car broke down in Arizona, and that an Omegan man that was fair-skinned drove her where she and took her up into the spacecraft, and then let her off from a distance where she could call and get in touch with AAA, and that was like, she said, about 280 miles away from where her car was parked in the desolate Arizona when there was a terrible storm in the middle of the night. But like I say, it's sad that one thing I don't understand is the extraterrestrials haven't been able to overcome war. And I'm pretty heartbroken that the Korendians and the Omegans have had a war for 200 years. I pray that they can work out things and overcome their differences and get along with each other. The Omegans control and rule a lot of stars and the Milky Way, and a lot of civilizations they dominate and control and rule, as well as the Korendians. Omegans are from star Caladan. The Omegans as their fans. Omegans are from star Caladan. The Omegans are our best fans. They come from a star, Ireland. They're originally from a star far away. That brought that technology is now here to stay. The Omegans are from star Caladan. The Omegans are our best fans. The Omegans from star Caladan. The Omegans are our best fans. The Omegans, the mushrooms and Omegans brought their dolls. The Omegans brought their technology now. Begins right here. The Omegans from star Caladan. The Omegans from Irish land. The Omegans from star Caladan. The Omegans from the Irish clan. The Omegans, a lot to give. The Omegans have the strength to live. The Omegans from star Caladan. The Omegans from the Irish clan. The Omegans from star Caladan. The Omegans are our best friends. I just made it up. Oh, the Palladians are a race that used to be like the Omegans, and now they have gotten into meditation and prayer. And the Palladians worked a lot with the East Indians and the Egyptians, like the Korendians did. And they became a civilized organization that overcame war and overcame and they're a big part of the Federation, and they're a peaceful race that teach meditation and a lot of the same teachings of that the East Indians teach. The Palladians look identical to a Caucasian white guy with pure natural blonde hair. Some of them have reddish blonde hair. They're very healthy, like the Korendian people. They're into they exercise, they keep themselves up, they're in tune with nature, and they do a lot of meditation in the forest preserves. They're a peaceful race. So if you want to learn more about the Palladians, everything about the Palladians is on the internet as well. Also, Billy Myers worked a lot with the Palladians, and they look identical to a regular Caucasian or Swedish or Norwegian person. The Irish, anybody Irish with red hair or black hair and real pale white skin or freckles is identical to what the Omegans look like. Billy Myers was a woman, she has an unusual speaking name, worked with Billy Myers. He owned a farm in Switzerland, and this Palladian lady became friends with him and took him to different places throughout the universe and taught him a lot of stuff. And he took a lot of pictures of their spaceships and stuff and learned their language and traveled with them. And Billy Myers has a large collection of DVDs and videos. Colonel Wendell Stevenson had a videotape of the Palladians that he produced, but it's now out of print. The Timors are an extraterrestrial race that look like the Caucasian species on Earth. They have a huge forehead that is out of proportion like Elmer Fudd, but they're like two big cups, like two big scoops of ice cream, and all of the Timbers have a large Omegans head, which is we would consider out of proportion. And the Timbers worked a lot with the Palladians and learned a lot of technology and meditations with the. And if a Timber were to be now the Palladians, the Korendiands, and the Melodias and the Melodians could live among us because they look different, identical to us humans on Earth, but the Timbers couldn't because they have an out of proportion head. You can see the drawings that I did on the internet. If you go to David Liebe Hart Facebook, I did lots of pictures of the Timber people. They have in fact, a guy just recently bought a painting of a Timber and the reptilian people. They have all kinds of extraterrestrials. They have extraterrestrials that look like insects. They have them look like half dogs on 2 feet. They have all kinds. They come in all shapes and forms, extraterrestrials. And some travel in spaceships. Some travel through frequencies. Some travel through different dimensions. Some don't even need a spaceship to travel in. They travel through mind over matter, just through consciousness and thoughts. The reptilians, a lot of the English and the bloodlines, as David Icke talks about the reptilians, a lot of our aristocracy that comes from Europe are this descendant of the reptilian race that are lizard people, and their face shape shifts and they run and control everything, and they are lizard people that stand on 2 feet. They have blended in with the English Caucasian race very strongly, and they're all aristocracy. And you can get David Icke's books or Google him, and he talks all about it. He's from England. And a reptilian called me on the phone, and I was amazed. And they're a lot like the Omegans. They're very feisty people that like to fight and dominate and be in control. But you know, I like all races and all people. Being African American and facing racism, I have an open mind to love all God's creation, all races of people, all aliens. And this is really sad. I had a best friend named George Kerp. As soon as he took me to his family in Simi Valley, they told him to have nothing to do with black people. He hasn't returned my phone calls. I don't know where he is now. And the same thing with Sonia Rude. When Mark Rossbach told her she'd burn in hell if she had a black boyfriend, she hasn't spoke to me. And now I just recently lost my best friend, James Squaw, because Susan Q-Eubank told him that he shouldn't like black people. And it's very sad that racism limits us and brings us far apart from each other, and love, faith, and brings us together. And we need to unite instead of be against each other, because united, there's an old saying in the 60s that the Fifth Dimension sang a song, united we stand and divided we fall. And I pray that there's universal harmony and brotherhood among all races on Earth, as well as people in the outer space and in other dimensions and other frequencies. We do need to learn to get along with each other. I was told that there are famous extraterrestrials living among us that are TV stars. There's a rock band that are Melodians. The Melodians come from Venus. They live inside the planet because they destroyed their outside atmosphere. Thor has a band, and he is from they're the same race that work with George Adamski. They look identical to the Caucasian people, the Melodians, and they live inside the planet Venus because through pollution they destroyed Venus with the pollution and stuff, and they live inside their planet. And anything you want to know about the Korendians is all right there. In fact, they gave us the internet, they gave us the computers, they gave us all our new technology that we use today. It was tested first, Area 51 and Wright-Patterson's Air Force Base. And we haven't perfected the cell phones, because if you're in a dark area or a tunnel or underground, they don't work very well. But the Korendians and the extraterrestrials they've given us so much advanced technology. We don't give them the credit they deserve. They brought an organized religion to our planet. They taught us, they civilized us. They brought so much to us. We owe so much gratitude to them. But organized religion and politics and the Republicans don't want us to accept that we have space brothers and that we're not alone in the universe, because they feel it would bring a mass confusion if everybody understood about the UFO phenomenon. But it is real. It is just as real as I'm standing here. It's just as real as I'm breathing air. Aliens are real, but you have to have an open mind to it. A lot of people say, well, I've never seen a UFO. I've never seen an alien. If you have a closed mind, you'll never see them. You have to have an open mind, and you have to, if you open your mind, it's like when you're going to school. If you go to school and say, I'm never going to learn this, I'm never going to learn it, you'll never learn it because you have a closed mind. But if you have an open mind and you want to learn about it, it'll come to you. You won't have to come to it.